I was looking at something somewhere, and they were, and it was to do with these beautiful patterns that are created with energy, through the universe, like through the world. Actually, through the universe, energy disperses, lightning comes down, and it branches out. It sort of branches where it has resistance to air. It branches out and creates these these sort of mycelium-like networks. Like it branches out, and the resistance of the air forms patterns, forms an expression of life as it's coming down. It can be, they do it with wood, I think, with very high voltage as well, and you can see the same patterns, these capillary patterns of a tree-like structure that comes out through the resistance of what the electricity is running through, what the energy is running through, creates a resistance and creates a pattern of life. And we talk about resistance most of the time as a bad thing. It creates a lot of suffering to be in resistance to life, which it does in that capacity. That psychological resistance creates suffering. I think it's a very common observation, I suppose. So I'm not talking about that in this conversation. I'm talking about a good resistance, okay? Because actually all manifestation of form in life happens with resistance. So resistance is happening everywhere. All energy changing, being manipulated or corralled or maneuvered by the surrounding energy that it's interacting with, is forming new life form through the idea of resistance of some sort. Not the bad resistance, but life in contrast with itself, creating resistance and form. So resistance actually can be part of the expression of new life, new form in life. Yeah, new form in life rather than new life. Life is always, but the new form, that's forms and patterns that are expressing, resistance is integral with that. So when we look at, even if we take that into the idea of mental suffering, okay, which I'm not, a lot of what we do and talk about is to alleviate suffering. But just bear in mind that everything, that all resistance that is happening in the universe is actually has utility. It seems to create new form, new expression, new interaction. And although we don't really want psychological suffering, perhaps that resistance is part of this and happening the way it should. It is happening the way it should because it's happening. So it's also through the impulse of life healing itself is finding ways to harmonize or balance that or mitigate that suffering, that psychological suffering. But suffering may not just be all bad. Resistance may not all be bad. Resistance might be, it is just part of what's going on in life. So even that idea of, resistance bad, change that, make that go away, can be dropped. Just resistance is causing suffering. Let's see if we can harmonize that. And that in itself has propagated a new interaction in life. So resistance is quite an interesting thing to look at. It seems to happen. Life doesn't do anything incorrectly. Life is perfect. It's got an intelligent expression that is beyond what a human being can comprehend. So what's happening with resistance is probably perfect. But it doesn't mean we can't try to solve and heal and help suffering that comes from that psychological suffering. But even that expression, that interaction is perfectly, beautifully life healing and helping itself, learning itself, changing in itself.